everybody, welcome back. We've got the Docs of Ignite Chiropractic here, and we are coming to talk about the condition of the month, which is migraines. And so we're going to talk about the different types of migraines as seen in research, what are the causes of them, what we see in our office, the success rates that we have, how we treat it, why it's chiropractic related, and how chiropractic can help with it. And then we're also going to go with other misconceptions and ideas of, people that think that they have migraine headaches and it might actually be headaches. And regardless, you should not be suffering needlessly. And that's what it all comes back to, is we want to make sure that you're not suffering needlessly and the body is functioning the way it needs to. So let's kick it off by talking about the different types of migraines.
Gotcha. So we've actually done some internal research within our practice and looking at between headaches and migraines. What is the success rates that our patients are seeing based on, because we've really focused on this for years to get really good at it. It's something that I dealt with migraine headaches for years, and chiropractic was able to help me get rid of them. So it was kind of a personal passion point to get very, very good at taking care of this and helping other people get the relief that I had. And in our office, we see roughly 90+% improvements, significant improvements in both headaches and migraines. So migraines, according to Harvard, is broken down into 3 different categories, or causes rather. The first cause is more of a vascular issue, which means high blood pressure up in the brain. So there's too much blood flow going up into the brain. That's why a lot of people that have had migraines, their doctors will put them on blood pressure medication to lower their blood pressure, even if they don't necessarily have a heart issue that they're aware of. They're doing that to bring down the pressure in the brain. The second is seizure-like activity. This is the second cause, seizure-like activity in the brain. And a seizure, a lot of people know seizures as the tonic-clonic type seizures where people, where people are shaking and foaming at the mouth. But the seizure is actually a brain disorder where the brain is firing. It's like an electrical storm of all sorts of crazy firing in the brain that's not synced up to any particular one thing, and it just goes crazy. And that may not actually show shaking. That can actually lead to migraine type symptoms. And then the third cause is brainstem activity. And it's kind of in my way I look at it, it's the researchers were very unclear of how the brain stem caused it, because I don't think they actually dove into the research enough to really understand this, because we were talking about it and you're like, hey, I think I could put the pieces together for everybody on why the brain stem is the third cause of migraines. Can you dive into that?
Sure. I mean, I actually see that as a common link to all of those patterns potentially. The brainstem is a main area that modulates our autonomic nervous system, which is the part of our brain that controls blood flow and where it needs to go in different parts of the body. It's also it's our fight and flight and rest and digest system as well. The other part that's in the brain, in the brainstem, is an area that modulates our pain sensitivity. So if that's not firing correctly, you may be more sensitive to pain, signals coming from your pain receptors. And then the third component to that is when you look at seizures, like you said, it's this electrical storm. It's areas of the brain that aren't being quieted down the way that they should. And the brainstem is really the access point to get information up from the body into these higher areas in the brain. And the majority of your brain is inhibitory in nature. And so if you're not getting good signals up, you reduce your ability to inhibit and quiet down areas that could be creating seizure-like activity.
And where is the brainstem?
It's at the base of the skull, right above the neck, right up and through here.
So right here?
Yep. And it's that connection between your spinal cord and the brain.
Gotcha. So that really kind of links all the different major reasons for why someone might have migraines. But there's a difference between a migraine and a headache.
Yep.
So can you go into what the general causes of headaches are that's separate from migraines, Dr. Chris?
So headaches in nature can be one cervicogenic. That's one of the ones that we take care of the most.
What does cervicogenic mean?
Cervicogenic is cervico, meaning cervical region of your neck. So your upper neck and your spine.
Yeah, cervical means neck, right?
Cervical means neck. And the other ones are things like tension headaches. So stress-induced, you had a long day. These muscles start getting tight that attach to the base of your skull, start putting tension on your neck. So you get that tight. You see people walking around with their shoulders like this all day, cause those type of headaches. And then migraines. Like
how does that cause a headache, though? Like if someone's having a lot of tension in their neck?
So your muscles that attach to the base of your skull, right on the back of your trap muscle, the big one, that one attaches, but remember, if those start putting pressure on all the muscles and nerves underneath, that can start causing referral pattern and referral pains up into the head, cause that wraparound, kind of like that band around your head, kind of start being more one-sided. It can also lead into TMJ type of pains, and those can cause other type of headaches. You know, people start getting that splintering headache that goes right into the jaw. And
What about the one like right behind the eye that goes and sits right behind the eye?
that one I've always been told was a little different. It can be either cluster or it can be just a one-sided migraine. Just depends on how severe it is. But once again, cervicogenic or migraines, those type of things start to lead to vascular compromise, and that's why we start doing. You see a lot of the medications that have caffeine in them to help open those vessels up a lot more to keep that blood flow going, because it's a blood flow issue, and typically with migraines for the most part. But then you also have the dura. This is what we're talking about with migraines as well. Dura is the sheet that wraps around the brain, but also insulates the spinal cord all the way down. So these also have attachment points in your neck or in your cervical region, and they have several areas of those joints actually attaching to them. If they're not motioning correctly, or if they're malmotioned, they start putting pressure on the capsule and the joints. Those nerves start getting inflamed, start sending out pain signals that go up back into the brain. The dura is the only area in the brain that actually has pain signals. Dr. Sean was teaching us about this earlier. It's the only area that you actually do get pain signals. So whenever that starts getting taut or torqued on, it starts pulling on the back, starts getting a lot more tension on it, starts creating those migraine type headaches where it gets right behind the eyes. People start seeing can see auras or any type of visual disturbances. Sometimes, it doesn't happen all the time, but they can also have audio disturbances as well. Nausea, vomiting, all of those type of symptoms can start showing up.
Yeah, and so it's real common now that people can associate and make sense of, like, oh, my neck may be involved with my headache. It's not a far stretch to look at that. But I know one of the things that Dr. Nat and I have seen for years is sometimes you have to go away from the neck in order to take care of this, to work with the improvements. Can you talk about that?
Well, that's following along exactly what Dr. Chris is talking about with the dura mater, and the fact that it goes and encases the entirety of the spinal column, going all the way down to where it extends down in the region where we call the sacroiliac joint, but below where the sacrum is, and it actually it attaches and it anchors down there. So if there's tension and torsion happening down there from malpositioning within the hips, your sacrum being tilted forward, backwards, in all the directions, and the points
even the tailbone.
Or the tailbone. How many people have fallen flat, straight down onto their bum, right? Maybe you're hanging up Christmas lights at the time of the year that we're recording this right now, or someone trips on, maybe you're out in a boat. Whatever the case is, if people make big falls, they might not be considering the fact that torsion down there, and plus there's adhesions that form, because adhesions are like, as I say, the saran wrap that encases and protects particular areas through the fascia. Fascia is like the saran wrap around every organ of the body. It goes around muscles and everything else, but adhesions form.
It's a scar tissue.
It's scar tissue. Scar tissue forms so that way it can try to create a barrier, try to create some sort of mechanism so that way it creates protection. It's actually favorable for your body to do that. But the problem is it's going to malposition. Mm-hmm. It's going to cause misinformation firing because of that malposition into the brain, then subsequently back down into the muscles. Your movement patterns are going to be thrown off. So there's this whole cascade reaction and effect that continues, and it starts to create a pattern within the brain of the brain thinking this is the best way for this body to function right now. So if we don't address those issues that are happening down below, then it can just continue that circle effect, that cascade effect that I was just talking about. So it's really important to be looking at the body as a holistic system and not just try to pinpoint just based on one area when it can actually be primarily happening from somewhere else, from who knows what injury that could have happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we have a reputation for taking care of migraines with really good success and headaches, and we've had people that have said, like, well, I've been to even multiple chiropractors, I've been to neurologists, I've been all over the place. Like, what is it that you're going to be able to do that's different? And oftentimes it comes down to like the approach, right? So what we're looking at is affecting that dura mater, specifically within TRT. The approach that we use is we're looking to see like how is everything all connected, and we're not just necessarily looking at the neck or the issues that are up there. I mean, we may address that if it shows up, for sure. I mean, it's common to show up there, but this is where we've seen so many where it's like it wound up being a tailbone issue, like a tailbone issue causing migraines. I mean, that's crazy for most people to think about, but the more you understand, that's why we want to bring this up and share this, because the more you understand how the body is interconnected, the more it's less of a stretch to recognize that, for us to look at this, it's very obvious. We go, oh yeah, well that's the key issue right here. It's a problem in your tailbone or in your sacrum or in your pelvis. Then it's like, okay, this all comes together. Or maybe it is in your neck, or perhaps it's in your somewhere in between those areas, somewhere else in the spine that's showing up. And if that's not addressed, or we've even seen it towards the sphenoid.
Yeah.
The sphenoid is a bone inside of the skull.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, you go back to the dura mater. That's actually where the dura attaches itself. It's another attachment point, and it's a bone inside of the skull that actually goes horizontal that your brain sits on top of, and it literally goes like this. And it has a little bit of motion, and a little bit of movement, and that can get torqued. And it's always a really interesting adjustment. You guys know, it's a powerful one. Where suddenly we're about to make it like a small adjustment here on the side of the head, and people are going, "Wait, what?" What are you doing? What are you doing? Aren't you supposed to be working on the neck here, guys? Like, what's happening?
We have to explain the fact, and with the technique that we do, which we do the torque release technique in this office, knowing that it's part of what we call the Lovett brothers. But that base of the area I was talking about with the dura mater anchors, it is all, like when we adjust the tailbone, we have to also adjust this because those two communicate hand in hand from the upper and the lower aspect right there. And oftentimes whenever people get first of all, they get and it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So as Dr. Sean was talking about earlier with the dura mater and then talking about the midbrain, how that's affecting all the autonomic nervous system, what happens is that we have an oversympathetic drive, the parasympathetic, which is the rest, digest, and healing and recovery aspect of the nervous system. If that's not being activated, we can directly activate it through those areas of the lower portion of the where the dura mater is connected down in the sacrum and the tailbone area, but then also up here because by way of its connection through the dura mater.
Yeah, so there's just so many different ways that you can tackle this and you look at it, but it really comes down to looking at things very simply. When you understand kind of the basics of what drives headaches and what drives migraines, and it's what leads to people winding up getting such good success in the office. And the ones who, again, it's like 90% from what we've seen, and the ones who are in that 10%, we basically can rule out that it's not something to do with the spinal cord. It has nothing to do with the dura. At that point, it's usually toxic overload and the different toxicities, and then at that point, we are able to address those people and help them take care of that through the other avenues, which is usually like some sort of a chemical disturbance inside of the body. And so overall, most people that have a migraine or a headache are extremely well served coming into the office, and really it can be life-changing because the life-changing effects of going from headaches every single day I can attest personally, but the testimonials that we have, I mean, we have hundreds of testimonials of people whose lives have changed, relationships have improved. They've gotten promotions at job. They hated their job and they decided to quit their job.
Right.
We've just seen so many different iterations of this, but when you're walking with headaches and you're walking in this fog, it's just not good.
And it saves money, and what we're doing is we're bringing about the awareness for those lifestyle changes. Maybe your work is what's literally creating the headache in your life, or whatever other elements in your lifestyle that's creating that stress response. Saving money in the sense that maybe you don't have to go weekly or monthly for those steroid injections that you were getting in the back of your head for those cervicogenic headaches.
Or Botox injections and stuff in the back of the neck.
There, which is a whole nother conversation, and with the side effects in relation to what those drugs and those pharmaceuticals are doing to your body to help with your quote pain, but not actually causing and addressing the issue at hand.
Yeah, because what we haven't talked about is the medications that people are on. Right, they're on so many medications, and often they're having to take them prophylactically. Can you dive into that?
Yeah, I mean, the way that these medications are designed is you have to kind of build up a certain amount in your system for them to work. And so it's really kind of hard to say, are they really, really helping or not? But what'll happen most of the time is they'll go through and try medication A, work on it for a while, and it's like, no, doc, I still am having my migraines. Okay, let's try this medication. And it just becomes this trial and error. I've seen patients that have tried up to 15 to 20 different medications to try to manage their migraines and still no results, and yet they've never been through and done chiropractic care to see what that could do.
Yeah, and so a lot of times the side effects are actually causing more problems than the supposed benefit that they may or may not even be getting from taking the medications to begin with. And they're like, well, why are you taking that? Oh, migraines. Well, how often are you getting migraines? Twice a month. Okay. Yeah, you're taking this every single day. Now you have you're having digestive issues with it. You're having to take 3 or 4 medications to deal with the side effects of that. Or a lot of people don't even know the side effects that they're faced with. they just start thinking that other things are breaking down in their body. And that winds up being a huge issue. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and wrap this up because we wanted to go over kind of the highlights of migraines and headaches, because as you can see, it gets very, very, very complex. We want to do our best to simplify this to you because we do get such good results. So if this is something that you are personally dealing with and you're already coming in as a patient, let us know so that we can make sure that we're addressing this appropriately. And then if it's something that a family member or a friend or a spouse or a loved one is dealing with, send them this video so that they understand, because we find that knowledge is often the gateway to people improving their health. If you understand what's going on and you understand that, oh, okay, these are the systems that are involved or possibly involved, and these are the different things that we need to do to improve this, then now that person is much more likely to take action on their health and get those health improvements that we really want to make sure that you and your loved ones are getting. So be sure to send this out and share this video with them. And otherwise, we appreciate you watching and look forward to serving you.